years ago, a person dressed as a clown, holding flowers and balloons, rang the doorbell at Marlene Warren's home. But when Marlene answered, the clown shot her to death.
It was one of the worst days of my life.
Advanced DNA testing led authorities to Sheila Keen Warren. The defendant ended up marrying the victim's husband.
She wanted to marry him. She had to get rid of his wife.
This is going to be a riveting case, pairing a classic lover's triangle with modern forensics.
It's like a Lifetime movie plot.
We're talking about 30 years ago. You know, memories fade, evidence fade.
They can take the lack of evidence and create reasonable doubt.
I have seen convictions in cases, even though there's no murder weapon or no body.
From my knowledge of the case, she's innocent.
I mean, this is an unreal case. Today, the city of Minneapolis agreed to pay a record $27 million settlement to the family of George Floyd, and a seventh juror was seated in the trial of former officer Derek Chauvin, who's been charged in George Floyd's death. Court TV cameras inside the courtroom, and Court TV legal correspondent Julie Janae will be joining us live from Minneapolis at the top of the hour with more on the case. But right now, we're going to take you on the docket for the killer clown trial from down in Palm Beach County, Florida. A woman or someone, well, prosecutors say it was a woman, someone dressed up as a clown killed Marlene Warren. And they say it was Sheila Keen Warren. Notice the commonality of the last name? That's because she ended up marrying Marlene Warren's husband. Ted Rowlands has more for us tonight.
It started out as a typical day for the Warren family living on this quiet street in Wellington, Florida, an equestrian community just north of Miami.
That morning, I do remember we were eating breakfast. Nice, calm Saturday, I believe it was.
Joe Aarons was 21 years old at the time. He will remember that Saturday for the rest of his life. It was May 26, 1990. A clown carrying balloons and flowers came to the Aarons' door. Joe's mom, Marlene Aarons Warren, reached for the flowers and was fatally shot twice in the face.
It was one of the worst days of my life.
Aarons heard the gunfire and ran to find his mother in a pool of blood. He saw the clown walk away and disappear into a white car, but had no clue who the killer was, and neither did police. The case would go cold for decades. Then, finally, after 27 years, a break. Advanced DNA testing led authorities to Sheila Keen Warren.
Testing has evolved over time, and there were apparently some pieces of evidence that they wanted to re-examine, and they sent it to an FBI lab. And it's unclear which part of that led to the arrest, but something stuck. And that's how they were able to make the arrest.
Keen Warren was living in Virginia. She was arrested and charged with first-degree murder for the shooting death of Joe Aaron's mother, Marlene Warren.
I could not grieve because there was no closure in the case.
Authorities suspected Sheila was having an affair with Marlene's husband, Michael Warren. Michael and Sheila eventually married in 2002. She was living with him at the time of her arrest. The trail that led investigators to Sheila Keen Warren contained many twists. One of them, a deathbed confession from John Moran. A family friend, John Moran passed away, but before he died, he shared a secret with his son, John Moran Jr.
My father told me everything that happened before he died. I knew where the car was, I knew who planned it, I knew where the gun was at.
John Moran Sr. worked with Michael Warren, who was married to the victim. Warren was questioned by police but never charged in his wife's murder. He was a used car dealer who was later arrested on charges of grand theft, odometer, tampering, and racketeering. Warren's friend, John Moran, told his son before he died that Warren may have had something to do with his wife's death.
On his deathbed, he told me that car would get me anything I ever wanted from Mike Warren.
Moran Jr. told detectives that Michael Warren tried to bribe him. Investigators followed up on details Moran Jr. gave them, including information about what could have been the killer clown's getaway car. John Moran Jr. said his dad told him where some of the evidence was kept. Police went diving in a Palm Beach canal where Moran Jr. says he and his father helped dump the evidence. However, investigators did not find the clown costume or murder weapon. Without that evidence, police can't make a case for murder against Sheila Keen Warren, according to their lawyer.
I do know enough about this case, not from the discovery process, but from my knowledge of the case, that she's innocent.
All right, joining me now to talk about the case from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, is Mark Eiglarsh. He's a criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor, and you can check out Mark and his law firm at speaktomark.com, and that's Mark with a K. Nice job with the purple tonight, Mark. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ben.
Let's start here. The clown car, right? They pulled one out of the water. They found nothing in it. But there's another clown car, a white LeBaron that was found. And I want to play for you an interview. This is from 1991 on WJNO radio, where the husband of the victim and the son of the victim are on this radio show, and they're talking about the white clown car. Let's take a listen.
Joe, can we assume at this point that the wig, the color of the wig that this clown face wore was orange?
Oh, yes.
It was orange, okay.
Did they ever tell us what color the interior of the LeBaron that they were checking was?
Orange.
Oh, well, gee. Well, no wonder they found orange fibers in there.
No, somebody had an orange interior LeBaron?
Red interior with orange carpet.
You're kidding.
Well, now, how can they say that
Lee Iacocca made a car with red upholstery and orange carpeting?
All right, let's get to the forensics now. So there's a discussion of what's found in this white LeBaron, which may have been the getaway car, an orange fiber. The clown was wearing an orange wig, but the LeBaron's got orange interior.
Right, reasonable doubt. You heard what the defense lawyer said earlier. His client is innocent. He's not saying not guilty. He's saying innocent, Vin. So clearly what this dream team of defense lawyers, and I know a number of them, what they have is an explanation for every piece of evidence. And the fact that this case is 30 years old, that's tough when you're prosecuting a 3-decade-old case.
It is, but I'm looking at some of the circumstances here. The motive and the story prosecutors will be able to tell will clearly get the interest of this jury. I mean, the woman who is on trial for the murder married the woman's husband that she's accused of murdering. Mark?
Yeah, you love that. You always love to bring that up, and you're right. That's delicious. There's something wrong with that, right? And they're still together to this day. That said, yeah, it makes it look like maybe she did something. Maybe's not enough, as you know.
Well, they've got something. Now, they haven't revealed everything. So from your experience in practicing law down there, do you think prosecutors looked at this case and said, we've got to try it sooner or later, and it's 30 years old, let's just give it a shot? Or do you think that they have a piece of evidence that's going to specifically tie this defendant perhaps to the scene of what happened?
I have to believe that they believe in their case. They believe that each piece of evidence, things like the suspect being in the getaway car, the DNA, the fibers, everything can be explained away. But if you put it all together, it shows one conclusion, and that is that she's guilty. I believe that they believe it. But you've got a great defense team to take away each piece of evidence. Plus, Vinny, whatever they're alleging they've got, good luck proving all that after 30 years. The only thing we know for sure in the criminal justice arena is that cases for the defense always get better with age, like wine.
And one final question before we run out of time here, Mark. The husband, Mike, we heard him on the radio show there. Will we hear him in the courtroom?
No. I do not think that either side thinks that this guy is going to be, unpredictable. They know he will be unpredictable. They don't know what he's going to say. Clearly, the prosecution wouldn't call him because he's somebody who would most likely lay down for her and try to help her. The defense, there's just too much. I don't think that you see him testify. All right, Mark Eiglarsh, speaktomark.com. Appreciate it. Thanks so much. Nice to see you, Vin. Thanks.